We are full in it now. March Madness is upon us. Number 1 seed Alabama taking care of business in the first round, as we expect them to do as the overall number 1 seed. Of course, we're going to check in with Locked On Alabama, Roll Tide, of course, Luke Robinson. Pretty good day for you guys out there. No hiccups so far. What did you see out of them? What were you happy to see and happy to have avoided in the first round?
Well, you're always happy to avoid an upset, right? I mean, you could have gone the way of Virginia either in 2017 or 16 or today. So yeah, you move on, survive and advance. That's the key. But what I was really happy to see in game is Alabama had 8 guys hit 3-pointers, and none of them were named Brandon Miller. That's pretty amazing. Brandon Miller had 0 points today. He only played about 19 minutes. They obviously didn't need him, but it was good to see. What a confidence builder for the team. Brandon Miller's the best player in the country, if you ask me. And so but Alabama was able to have a convincing, blowout win, wire to wire, without Brandon Miller not just playing not his best game. I mean, he essentially was barely out on the floor. So it was pretty amazing to see. Now he's dealing with a bit of a leg injury. It's nothing serious. It's nothing big. I don't think it's going to preclude him from playing at all on Saturday or going forward. But it was just good for the team to go out there, hit those 3-pointers. Nick Pringle, what a game for him. Nick Pringle, to me, he's sort of a glue guy on the team. He's hilarious on Twitter, and the teammates seem to really love him. He's the guy, even when he's not playing very much. If the other teammates are playing well, he's on the bench just like going nuts for them. So you love for guys like that to get their moment in the sun, and he certainly did today.
Obviously, the depth is going to serve them very well when it comes to the later rounds of March Madness, because that's when you need everybody to step up. In regards to Miller, he did not score in this game. He didn't play a ton, whether that's injury related or not. Does that concern you moving forward? Is some of the distractions off the court an issue, or do you feel like this was an isolated kind of game for him?
Oh, I clearly think this was an isolated game. He took some shots, and Brandon Miller's not the kind of guy who's going to force things. Against Houston earlier in this year when they were playing on the road, and Alabama won this game, by the way. Brandon Miller got all his points from the free throw line. It's the only game of the year, I think, where he didn't score in double digits before this one. And he did against Arkansas earlier this year at Arkansas. He didn't take a shot in the first half. So he's not the kind of guy that's just like, I got to keep shooting. I mean, shoot or shoot. That's not his deal. Now, he can score just about whenever he wants to, but today other teammates were open. And so he was just making things happen for them. And when 8 guys are hitting 3-pointers, and Alabama's hitting them at a clip that they were today, Brandon Miller didn't have to go out there and force anything. Now, there were some troubling things in that Noah Clowney got 4 fouls very early in the second half. You certainly don't want to have that happen against Maryland. They're sort of a rough and tumble team. They were able to survive a very scrappy, just tough West Virginia squad today. But I don't think Alabama's going to have those same problems. I mean, you have this first game. This is what you want out of a game when you're the number 1 seed. You want to have this game where you can learn stuff and you still blow them out and you can feel good going forward. And I think Alabama worked some of the kinks out. I don't think the distractions off the court are really affecting the team all this much. I know that some writers out there want them to, badly want them to, because they're not really doing their due diligence, if you ask me. But and also that's where the story is. The story is with Brandon Miller. And so they want to keep that in the limelight. But I think in the end, I think Saturday against Maryland, Brandon Miller is going to show out.
What scares you most about Maryland? You mentioned they're really scrappy. They're one of those teams that can kind of just grind you down a little bit. What poses the biggest challenge, do you think, to Alabama in that matchup?
I'm not going to pretend like I know a ton about Maryland right now, but I would say this. Number one, they're a program that has had NCAA tournament success. Okay, so I always get a little fearful of those guys. Like, you never want to see North Carolina in your bracket. You never want to see Duke. Maryland's on the precipice of being one of those kind of teams. They've won a national championship been to Final Fours. They've got a good squad. They play in the Big Ten, so they know about playing in big games. Here's the one thing that really impressed me today. They fought back from down double digits early against West Virginia. And West Virginia is the kind of squad that they're coached well, they're mean, they're rough and tumble, and Maryland just got in there amongst them. And even when West Virginia made another run, took a big lead, Maryland came right back. So they have a stick-to-itiveness about them, I think, that is pretty awesome. Alabama's going to have a distinct advantage, I think, both in the players on the court and certainly in Birmingham. Whenever this game is played, they hadn't set a time yet, to my knowledge, but I think Alabama will have a distinct advantage. And Lord knows if with Alabama, Maryland, and if Auburn wins tonight and they play Houston Saturday, God help Birmingham traffic.
Fair enough. Obviously, we don't want to look too far ahead, but obviously a lot of people have Bama going pretty far in their brackets. Is there anyone else in that region that you think could pose maybe their biggest challenge coming up?
San Diego State is scary. Now, as we are doing this, San Diego State's only up 2, I think. So I'm not sure if they've even won their game. But San Diego State is a team, I think, that can be scary. They got 3 fifth-year seniors that are very good. Arizona, obviously, number 2 seed. But they're in a 1-point game as we're doing this at half against Princeton. So, I mean, it's going to be a crazy tournament. I don't think there is a dominant force out there. Some people would think Alabama may be the closest thing to that. But even Alabama went to Oklahoma this year, a team that didn't make the tournament, a team that's unranked, had a losing record and lost by 25. So it's going to be a nutty tournament. And, I think anybody can scare you right now. There's no gimmies from when you get reached around to 32 on. There's no gimmies.
There really never is in March, of course, either. And we will have Locked on Bama, of course, checking in with you throughout as long as Bama's in this one. Luke, we appreciate you joining us. Of course, Locked on College Basketball will have recaps of everything throughout March Madness. It's all part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.